Rachel Zegler just keeps making things worse with the Walt Disney Company. The more that she tries to defend this movie, the more that she tries to spew her agenda onto the general public, it's only making matters worse. Not just for Bob Iger, but for whatever is left of the image of Disney as a whole.
Okay, girl, this one is insane.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco: Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler. Evie Magazine wrote on X, when you compare how Rachel Zegler spoke about Snow White to how other actresses who played live-action Disney princesses spoke about their character, really underlies just how poorly she carried herself.
Just when we thought this saga had hit rock bottom, Disney quietly rebooting Snow White, Rachel Zegler getting replaced and erased, all the drama, lawsuits, and internet dragging. Now we find out she allegedly marched into an emergency meeting with Disney lawyers and dropped the boldest line yet.
Look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke, DEI, feminist agenda.
I want $200 million. Yes, $200 million. And according to multiple insiders, she's dead serious. We're not talking hush money. We're not talking unpaid bonuses. We're talking about a full-blown financial demand from a star who was once Disney's next big thing, and is now allegedly holding the studio accountable for a disaster they helped create. This isn't just another meltdown. This might be the start of the biggest legal war Disney has faced from its own star in years.
I'm in the thick of rehearsals for Romeo plus Juliet, so I'm gonna get out of here. Bye for now. The Variety story notes how a couple of minutes after posting this, she replied to her own tweet and wrote, "And always remember, free Palestine."
Let's talk about what actually went down. Rachel Zegler was allegedly summoned to an emergency legal session by Disney's top lawyers. Not PR reps, not producers, lawyers. Why? Because the tension between Rachel and the studio has allegedly hit a breaking point. What started as bad press has now evolved into accusations of contract breaches, public disparagement, claims, threats of lawsuits, and Disney preparing a case against Rachel to protect their brand. But girl, instead of backing down, Rachel allegedly flipped the narrative. She walked into the room, laid out her own accusations that she was set up, that Disney failed to protect her, that the film's failure was due to internal sabotage, and that her career, image, and earnings have been permanently damaged. And the price tag for all that damage? $200 million.
Producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
Let's break it down, because this isn't just her throwing out a dramatic number. According to sources close to her camp, Rachel's legal team is allegedly preparing to argue that her image was tied to Disney's PR direction. She fulfilled all contractual obligations for promotion despite backlash. Disney's alleged failure to manage public narrative caused irreparable harm to her brand. Future earnings were destroyed due to the scandal, making Disney financially liable. So where does 200 million come from? Insiders say her team is including unpaid bonuses and back-end points, loss of current and future brand deals, damage to her long-term box office value, her exclusion from the reboot, which could have been worth tens of millions in sequel rights, and licensing, and if this sounds dramatic, it is. But that doesn't mean it's not real, because in Hollywood, image is currency, and Rachel's allegedly claiming that Disney bankrupted her reputation.
Variety breaks down how after this tweet went viral, the studio was shocked that she would mix a promo tweet with a political statement. As a result, Mark Platt flew to New York to speak with her in person.
As soon as the 200 million figure leaked, the internet exploded. Some fans were like, 200 monitors? For what? She should be paying Disney for the PR damage. Others? If Disney really ghosted her and froze payments, she deserves every penny. It's chaos. It's giving full-on celebrity civil war. And what makes it even messier? Rachel hasn't denied the number, not once. In fact, sources say her camp is leaning into it because it sends a message. I'm not scared of you, and I know what you cost me.
I'll quickly mention this. The son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, Jonah Platt is the son's name. He is speaking out publicly against Rachel Zegler and blaming her for the film's catastrophic failure at the box office.
As she destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie. The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms.
Meanwhile, Disney is allegedly scrambling behind the scenes, and this time, they're not brushing it off. Insiders say Bob Iger has been pulled into private meetings, and that the legal team is reviewing past contracts line by line, trying to find anything they can use to shut this down before it goes public. Because if Rachel files a lawsuit, and she might, it would mean discovery, public contract exposure, potential testimony, and a massive spotlight on how Disney handles flops, female leads, and internal PR damage. This is no longer about Snow White. This is about Disney's control over narrative, damage, and dollars. And if they lose that, it opens the door for every actor who's ever been wronged by a failed franchise to start demanding justice.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
So here's where things start getting serious. Not just for Disney, but for every studio that thought they could silence a flop by ghosting the star. Because according to multiple sources close to the situation, Rachel Zegler's legal team isn't just throwing out a wild number. They're allegedly building a case, a very real, very calculated, very dangerous one. The energy has shifted. This isn't about negotiating behind the scenes. Rachel is allegedly preparing to sue, and if she does, she's not just coming for money, she's coming for the system. And for Disney, that is the last thing they want.
After one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering, it's going to be hitting movie theaters next week.
Rachel Zegler wasn't just any lead actress. She was launched by Spielberg, handpicked by Disney, and branded as the future of the franchise. And now she's allegedly preparing to become the face of how modern studios exploit young talent. Her legal team is reportedly focusing on 4 core arguments. First, breach of contract. That Disney failed to fulfill payment clauses related to merchandise, streaming, and promotional performance, and then used negative press as an excuse to block what she was owed. Second, negligence. They allegedly failed to protect her public image during one of the most toxic online backlashes in recent years, even after she completed her promotional obligations. Third, career damage. That the studio's mishandling of the fallout destroyed her future earnings, public trust, and long-term prospects within the industry. Fourth, strategic erasure. That Disney intentionally scrubbed her from the brand, replaced her, and profited off her likeness and early promotion without paying her for continued use. In short, she's not just saying they didn't pay her, she's saying they used her image, allowed the internet to turn on her, and then quietly moved on, leaving her to clean up the mess alone. And now, she's allegedly making them answer for it.
We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarves. So we'll guarantee no employment for little people while getting rid of this other component that warranted CGI. It was the worst decision they could possibly make.
Behind closed doors, Disney is allegedly in crisis mode. Legal teams have reportedly pulled every contract, every email, and every press clause connected to Rachel, not to help her, but to protect themselves. There's allegedly a gag clause in Rachel's deal that prevents her from speaking publicly about Disney in any way that could be considered disparaging, even if what she says is true. Translation: if she speaks out in an interview, a podcast, a TikTok, or anywhere else, they could sue her back. And allegedly, they're prepared to do just that, which is why Rachel's team is reportedly working fast to challenge the legality of that clause. Because this isn't just about her reputation anymore. This is about studios using silence contracts as a weapon, and if she fights back successfully, she could blow the lid off a system that's been silencing actors for years.
She's been sabotaging this film for years at this point, all in this sort of pursuit of entitlement.
Rachel Zegler might not be a box office powerhouse, but this case is way bigger than her, because if she wins, or even gets Disney to settle quietly, it changes everything. Producers, casting agents, managers, they're all allegedly watching to see if Rachel pulls it off. Because the second a star holds a studio accountable for not protecting them, other stars will do the same. If Rachel proves she was shorted on pay, smeared in press, and erased without recourse, it opens the door for dozens of others to start asking questions. And studios know it, which is why Disney is allegedly doing everything they can to shut this down before it gets out of hand. Because if she wins, they lose more than money. They lose control.
I can only hope that despite my flaws, And despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
She's a good actress.
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl is ridiculous.
And here's the twist no one expected. The same people who dragged Rachel Zegler for months are starting to flip. Once fans found out she allegedly wasn't paid, once they saw Disney reboot the movie without telling her, once they heard the figure, 200 million, and realized it wasn't just about ego, but about how she was treated behind the scenes, the energy shifted. Now the comments are saying things like, she might have been annoying, but she didn't deserve this, or they really used her and dropped her. No wonder she's fighting back. Suddenly, the girl who was memed to death might actually have a shot at flipping the narrative. She's not crying anymore. She's calculating. She's ready. And she might be coming for the mouse's money with more than just emotion. She might have the receipts.
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child.
What happens when an actress no one took seriously suddenly has all the leverage? Rachel Zegler might be in the fight of her life, but according to multiple alleged insider leaks, she's not backing down. In fact, she's allegedly gearing up to turn this into more than just a personal battle. She wants to make it public. She wants to hold Disney accountable. And if her team executes this right, she might just become the first person to drag a legacy studio into court over reputation destruction and career damage caused by their own PR machine. This isn't about Snow White anymore. It's about how much control a studio should have over a star, and how far they'll go to protect their image when the narrative turns against them.
Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows?
And you wonder why people are turning from this stuff in droves, right? Like that the original Prince was stalking her. I don't even really remember what Snow White was about either. The midgets gangbanged or whatever it was. It was a wholesome family film.
Let's be real. Rachel is going against a giant. Disney has the money, the legal army, and the corporate power to crush stories like this before they ever see daylight. So why would anyone try to take that on? Because allegedly, Rachel's team believes they have what every lawsuit like this needs. Proof. Proof of contractual obligations Disney didn't fulfill. Proof that Rachel was promised protections that were never delivered. Proof that the studio's silence during the backlash wasn't just bad PR, it was tactical negligence. And here's what makes it even more dangerous. According to alleged leaks, Rachel's lawyers are now considering using digital records from her press tours to demonstrate that she was following studio direction, citing internal memos or production documents that show early signs of Disney preparing to replace or distance themselves from her before the backlash even peaked. Leveraging third-party brand deal losses as evidence of financial harm tied directly to Disney's silence and image management. If any of that holds up, Disney could be forced to settle fast, because discovery in a case like this would open everything. Emails, contracts, marketing plans, even internal decisions about who gets blamed when a film flops. And Disney will do anything to avoid that kind of exposure.
Now they turned it into woke trash. Check this out for Men Wokeness. Disney's Snow White said that harm should befall Trump and his voters. Do not see this film.
Here's where this gets even deeper. Industry insiders know Rachel's story is not unique. It's just the first one with this much attention. There are whispered stories about actors who were blamed for bad films they didn't write, actresses who were promised marketing support and got abandoned the second reviews went south, performers locked into NDAs so tight they couldn't even defend themselves online while being publicly dragged. What Rachel is doing, it's allegedly, giving other people the courage to start asking questions. What did I sign? Was I protected? Did my studio let me take the hit for their bad decision? And if enough people start asking those questions, studios are going to have to rewrite how they treat talent, especially young, high-profile leads expected to carry billion-dollar IPs on their shoulders without any safety net. Rachel might not know it, but she could be at the center of a shift in how actors fight back when the image falls apart.
Tell me if this is attractive to you. Like, does this, imagine you invested into her being the face of the movie, and she's the main character and she's trying to promote the movie. Would this make you want to go watch the movie when she's starring in it and she's the main character?
Let's talk about Disney, because whether they admit it or not, this situation is already a PR nightmare. And they know it. The public is finally starting to ask real questions. Why didn't Disney defend Rachel during the backlash? Why was She removed from future projects without explanation? Why is her version of Snow White being erased, while merch featuring her face is still being sold? And if she was such a problem, why is Disney allegedly afraid of what she might say in court? It's giving damage control. It's giving silence with too much weight behind it. And the more Disney tries to bury this, the more people start paying attention. They thought they could move on, reboot the movie, recast the role, pretend none of it happened. But now Rachel is allegedly making that impossible. She's standing in the middle of the empire they tried to cut her out of, and she's refusing to leave until they answer for everything.
Destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie.
Let's be real, Rachel Zegler was never supposed to bounce back from this. The internet turned her into a meme. Disney replaced her without a word. The film tanked, the merch flopped, the headlines were brutal. She was over, forgotten, done, and now she's allegedly forcing the very studio that erased her to sit down, pay up, and face the consequences of what they did behind the scenes. This isn't a lawsuit anymore. It's a statement. You don't get to destroy someone's career and walk away. And whether she wins or not, she's already doing what no one thought she could. She's rewriting her legacy.
For Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
Rachel Zegler's fight isn't just about a bad movie. It's about how studios handle talent in the age of viral backlash and digital dragging. Because we've seen it happen again and again. A film fails, the lead takes the hit, and the studio slips into the shadows with their billions untouched. No apologies, no accountability, just silence. But now, Rachel's making it loud. She's allegedly putting contracts, NDAs, and power dynamics under a microscope, and doing what generations of actors were too scared to do. If you're going to use me, you're going to pay for it. She's not asking for sympathy, she's demanding respect retroactively. And for a studio like Disney, which thrives on control and silence, that's not just disruptive, it's dangerous.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie.
Let's say she wins, or settles, or even forces Disney into a public negotiation. That alone would be a shift, because it tells every young actor signing onto a major franchise, you're not powerless, you're not replaceable, you're not just the face on the poster. You're a person, and you have leverage. Studios would have to think twice before ghosting a controversial lead. They'd be forced to provide protection during press meltdowns. They'd lose the option to hide behind moral clauses and brand PR teams while blaming stars for their marketing failures. In short, Rachel wouldn't just be avenging herself, she'd be making sure this doesn't happen again. And that, babe, is how you go from canceled to iconic.
She's basically a violent, hysterical lunatic who wants babies. She's very concerned that her daughter will have to give birth to a child, which generally grandmothers think is a fantastic thing for their daughters. I don't think Trump is doing any forced impregnations.
Let's say Disney fights back hard, shuts her down, forces a private settlement, or wins in court. Even then, Rachel walks away with something she never had before, the narrative. Because for the first time since this whole disaster began, she's not the one being spoken about, she's the one speaking, and people are finally listening. She's no longer just the Snow White girl who fumbled the bag. She's the woman who stood up to $1 billion empire and said, "You used me, and I'm not afraid to say it." And in an industry built on silence, that alone is revolutionary.
Just why are the worst people constantly empowered in our society? It is going away, but it doesn't go away overnight.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
They don't know what merit is, because they get paid whether they succeed or not.
Here's the truth. Rachel Zegler may never wear a Disney crown again. She may never walk another premiere carpet with the mouse's blessing. She may never be their princess, but she doesn't need to be, because now she's something they can't brand, cast, or control. She's a story, a warning, a movement, and maybe, just maybe, the start of a new era where actors stop playing the role of grateful talent and start acting like what they truly are, the face of the billion-dollar machine and the ones who can bring it down. So what do you think? Is Rachel Zegler taking one last swing at redemption, or is she finally holding Disney accountable for everything they tried to hide? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like this video, subscribe for more chaotic takedowns, and don't forget to hit the bell, because when the next fairy tale goes off the rails, you'll want front row seats, because in Hollywood, happily ever after is negotiable.